Ancient history was not just marble temples and serious men in sandals, it was also toxic honey, sacred smoke, bitter ritual drinks, and plants so dangerous they made priests look like part-time crisis managers. This video is about history, archaeology, and ancient ritual practices only. Nothing here is advice, encouragement, or instruction. Many of these substances were poisonous, dangerous, or potentially deadly. 1. Mad honey sounds adorable, like something a cartoon bear would steal and then politely apologize for. In the ancient Black Sea region, it was much less cute. Certain rhododendron plants could make local honey toxic, and ancient armies moving through places like Pontus sometimes learned that lesson in the worst possible way. Soldiers found honey, ate it, and soon faced vomiting, confusion, weakness, collapse, and the deeply humiliating realization that breakfast had defeated them. Ancient writers describe troops being disabled by this strange natural trap, which is one of the simplest military disasters imaginable. No siege towers, no heroic last stand. Just men in armor discovering that free food in enemy territory may come with a plot twist. Nature did not need a sword, it brought dessert. 2. Herodotus described Scythian cannabis smoke rituals, and the scene sounds like a warrior society inventing the least calm memorial service imaginable. After funerals, Scythians reportedly entered small tent-like spaces, placed cannabis seeds on heated stones, and let the smoke fill the air as part of purification. The Scythians were nomadic horse warriors of the Eurasian steppe, famous for terrifying settled civilizations with speed, archery, and the general energy of people who did not believe in staying politely where maps wanted them. So picture that world: horses, weapons, burial rites, and then a smoke-filled ritual chamber meant to cleanse the living after contact with death. This was not casual entertainment. It was a serious ceremony in a culture where grief, warfare, and sacred practice rode side by side. Basically, history's most intense funeral sauna. 3. The Ptolemaic Egyptian bez mug mixture is what happens when archaeology looks inside an ancient cup and finds ritual weirdness quietly waiting. Bes was a protective Egyptian dwarf god connected with households, childbirth, music, and guarding people from danger, like a divine bouncer for bad spirits. Some special mugs shaped like Bez appear to have held complex ritual drinks with alcohol, honey, plant ingredients, and other substances that may have affected mood or perception. This was not ordinary after-work drinking beside the Nile. These vessels seem connected to ritual performance, protection, fertility, and moments when people wanted supernatural backup. A cup shaped like a grinning guardian god already feels dramatic. Fill it with a powerful ceremonial mixture, and suddenly, tableware has main character energy. Ancient Egypt did not simply decorate rituals. It staged them with scent, symbols, sound, and apparently some very serious cups. 4. Bronze Age. Menorca gave archaeology one of its strangest body-based clues: ancient human hair that preserved evidence of powerful plant exposure for thousands of years. In a burial cave on the island, researchers found traces of scopolamine, atropine, and ephedrine in hair samples. That combination points toward plants with strong and potentially dangerous effects on the body and mind. Scopolamine and atropine are associated with nightshade-type plants and can cause delirium, while ephedrine has stimulating properties. The evidence does not give us a neat little ritual handbook, thankfully, but it strongly suggests that some people in this community consume these substances in ceremonial contexts. Hair grows slowly and can record exposure over time, which makes this discovery feel almost personal. The dead did not leave written explanations. Their hair simply waited in a cave, holding one of the weirdest receipts in Bronze Age history. 5. Yopo and Koba snuffs were powerful ritual powders used in parts of South America and the Caribbean, especially in ceremonies connected to visions, healing, leadership, and communication with the supernatural. Among Taino peoples, Koba was tied to elite religious practice and contact with spirits or ancestors. In parts of South America, Yopo had similar importance in ritual settings. These powders were often taken through the nose using special tubes or ceremonial objects, which sounds shocking to modern ears, but made sense within cultures where the body itself could become a doorway into sacred experience. This was not a party trick. It was dangerous, formal, and wrapped in religious authority. Leaders and ritual specialists used these practices to seek knowledge, power, or guidance. Ancient people were not casually experimenting for laughs. They were asking the invisible world questions, and the answers sometimes arrived with smoke, powder, and serious consequences. 6. Mandrake is one of those plants that looks like folklore tried to grow a tiny cursed person underground. Greeks and Romans knew it as a powerful medicinal plant, and ancient writers connected it with sleep, pain relief, surgery, and love magic. The problem is that mandrake contains dangerous compounds, so the gap between helpful sedative and medical disaster with hallucinations could be terrifyingly small. Ancient doctors did not have modern anesthesia, so they sometimes turned to plants that could dull pain or make a patient sleep, even when those plants were risky enough to deserve their own warning chorus. Mandrake's human-shaped root helped build legends around it, including stories about deadly screams and magical harvesting rituals. Were those legends literal truth? No. Was the plant dangerous enough to earn its creepy reputation? Absolutely. Ancient medicine often stood very close to danger and called it treatment. 7. Peyote is a small cactus with a very long and serious cultural history. Archaeological evidence suggests peyote was used in North America for thousands of years, especially in areas connected to what is now Texas and northern Mexico. In ritual contexts, it was valued for visions, endurance, healing, and spiritual communication. This was not casual desert curiosity. For many indigenous traditions, peyote was sacred, structured, and surrounded by ceremony, songs, community rules, and religious meaning. Its effects could strongly alter perception, which helps explain why people treated it with respect rather than treating it like some strange cactus snack. Modern viewers may hear vision cactus and imagine something cartoonish, but the real history is much deeper. Peyote shows how one plant could be medicine, symbol, religious tool, and danger all at once. Tiny cactus, enormous spiritual responsibility. Not exactly the houseplant you ignore on a windowsill. 8. Roman wine was not always just wine. It was wine with accessories, wine with ambitions, wine that had clearly wandered too close to the medicine cabinet. Romans commonly mixed wine with water, but they also flavored it with resins, spices, herbs, honey, and medicinal ingredients. Some recipes and medical texts describe wine infused with plants that could affect the body or mood. To a Roman, this was not automatically scandalous. Wine was food, medicine, religious offering, social glue, and the reason dinner speeches became longer than anyone requested. But once strong herbs entered the cup, the line between refined flavor and bodily chaos could get blurry. Roman elite culture loved elaborate drinking, and physicians often used wine as a carrier for remedies. So yes, ancient Rome had roads, aqueducts, law, and also drinks that sometimes felt like a laboratory with handles. 9. Coca leaves were central to life in the ancient Andes, and their importance had nothing to do with modern misuse. High in the mountains, where thin air and brutal terrain make the landscape feel personally offended by your lungs, coca helped Andean peoples cope with altitude, fatigue, hunger, and hard labor. Archaeological evidence shows coca use long before the Inca Empire, and later Andean societies gave it major social, ritual, and political meaning. Coca leaves could be used in offerings, healing, divination, hospitality, and markers of status. This was not simply about energy. It was about survival, community, and sacred relationships with the mountain world. Imagine farming terraces, walking high passes, carrying goods, and building roads in an environment that constantly says, "Are you sure about this?" Coca was one answer. In the Andes, stamina was not a luxury. It was a requirement. 10. The Egyptian blue lotus looks elegant enough to decorate temples, tombs, and expensive perfume bottles, which makes its ritual reputation even more interesting. Blue lotus appears constantly in Egyptian art, often linked with rebirth, the sun, fragrance, pleasure, and sacred banquets. Some scholars suggest it may have had mild mood-altering or sedative effects, especially when combined with wine, though the exact ancient experience is still debated. What is not debated is that Egyptians loved the symbolism. The flower opens with daylight, closes at night, and basically walks into religion carrying a sign that says, "I am about rebirth." Add wine, music, incense, ritual imagery, and elite banquet scenes, and you get a carefully staged atmosphere of beauty and divine suggestion. Whether blue lotus was chemically powerful or mostly symbolic, ancient Egypt treated it like a floral VIP pass to pleasure, ritual, and cosmic meaning. 11. Datura is the plant version of a locked door with screaming behind it. Various ancient cultures used datura or related plants in ritual, medicine, and magical contexts. But this was never a harmless little herb with a quirky personality. Datura contains compounds that can cause delirium, terrifying visions, confusion, memory loss, poisoning, and death. In other words, it did not gently adjust reality. It could smash the furniture and leave the mind trying to understand where the walls went. Because of those effects, Datura was sometimes associated with shamans, sorcery, initiation, or dangerous healing practices. The point is not that ancient people were foolish. Many understood these plants were powerful, precisely because they were frightening. Datura shows why natural does not automatically mean safe. Sometimes natural means a plant is quietly waiting to ruin the confidence of everyone who underestimates it. 12. Cacao in Maya and Aztec society was not a sweet candy bar. It was bitter, prestigious, stimulating, and wrapped in elite status like a luxury brand with temple approval. Cacao drinks were made from cacao beans and often served without sugar because sweet modern chocolate had not yet arrived to turn sacred bitterness into supermarket happiness. The drink contained natural stimulants and appeared in elite feasts, rituals, marriages, offerings, and political life. Among the Aztecs, cacao beans were valuable enough to function as currency, meaning your drink could also be your wallet. Efficient? Yes. Stressful? Also yes. Maya nobles drank cacao from decorated vessels, sometimes with foam, spices, and ceremonial flair. So do not picture ancient cacao as a cozy bedtime drink. Picture rulers, priests, warriors, and nobles sipping bitter status fuel while silently reminding everyone that even their beverage had a social ranking system. 13. The Minoan poppy goddess imagery from Bronze Age Crete is one of those archaeological finds that instantly makes people lean closer and whisper, "Wait, what exactly was happening here?" Figurines found in Minoan religious contexts show a female figure with poppy capsules rising from her head, which is not exactly a casual hairstyle. The opium poppy was known in the ancient Mediterranean, and its seed capsules were associated with sleep, pain relief, and altered states. Scholars debate whether these images point to a goddess connected with healing, dreams, death, protection, or some wider plant symbolism. We cannot simply declare that every Minoan ritual involved opium. Archaeology is not a gossip channel with pottery, but the imagery is hard to ignore. A goddess crowned with poppies suggests that Bronze Age Crete saw the plant as more than decorative. It may have represented relief, mystery, divine power, and the strange border between pain and sleep. 14. Aztec Ololiuqui seeds came from morning glory plants, which sounds harmless until you realize ritual specialists were not just admiring the flowers. These seeds were used in Mesoamerican divination, healing, and ceremonies connected to communication with supernatural forces. Aztec sources describe healers and priests seeking answers about illness, fate, hidden problems, or spiritual causes. Basically, when ordinary explanations failed, people escalated the case to ritual divination. But Ololiuqui was not casual. Its effects could be intense, unpredictable, and physically unpleasant, which is exactly why ceremonial control mattered. Ancient Mesoamerican cultures often treated powerful plants as beings with sacred force, not as random objects for entertainment. The seeds were part of a serious religious and medical worldview where visions could help diagnose problems or reveal messages. Modern people wait for customer support. The Aztecs sometimes consulted a plant, and the plant did not offer a simple menu. 15. Frankincense and myrrh are usually introduced as elegant ancient gifts, but they also worked like sacred atmosphere technology. Egyptians, Mesopotamians, Greeks, Romans, and many others burned aromatic resins in temples, funerals, homes, and rituals. The smoke created scent, mystery, emotional intensity, and the feeling that ordinary space had been upgraded into divine territory. Frankincense and myrrh contain compounds that may influence mood, but even without dramatic chemistry, smell alone can change a ritual completely. Add darkness, firelight, chanting, music, and sacred images, and the body starts receiving the message before the brain finishes reading the theology. Ancient worship was sensory design. The temple did not just tell people the gods were near. It smelled different, sounded different, and looked different. Before fog machines and dramatic film lighting, priests already understood the rule. If you want people to feel the sacred, change the room first. 16. Betel nut chewing is an ancient stimulant habit that spread across South and Southeast Asia, leaving one of history's most recognizable calling cards, red-stained mouths. The practice usually involved areca nut, betel leaf, and lime, creating a stimulating effect that could sharpen alertness and suppress appetite. Archaeological and cultural evidence suggests deep roots for betel chewing in the region, where it became tied to hospitality, courtship, ritual, status, and everyday social life. It was not just ancient energy gum, though that description is painfully tempting. People offered betel in ceremonies, exchanged it during social meetings, and made it part of etiquette and identity. The red color, however, was impossible to ignore. Imagine entire communities built around a stimulant chewing tradition that left crimson evidence on teeth and lips. Long before modern energy drinks arrived in ugly cans, people had plant chemistry, social rules, and a smile that looked like it had fought a fruit basket. 17. The Kukeon of the Eleusinian Mysteries is one of ancient Greece's greatest "what was in that cup" puzzles. The Eleusinian Mysteries were secret religious rites near Athens honoring Demeter and Persephone, focused on death, rebirth, and hope for a better afterlife. Initiates drank a beverage called Kukeon, usually described as a barley-based drink with herbs. That sounds harmless, almost like sacred breakfast water. But because participants treated the experience as profoundly transformative, some scholars have wondered whether the drink contained something that affected perception, perhaps linked to grain, herbs, or ritual preparation. Others argue the power came from fasting, secrecy, darkness, music, expectation, sacred drama, and emotional intensity. The honest answer is that we do not know. The Greeks kept the details secret, and they did not leave us a helpful label saying mystery beverage ingredients. So Kukeon remains ancient religion in liquid ? Form. 18. Cannabis smoke in ancient Western China is not just a vague rumor from a weird footnote. Archaeologists studying burials in the Pamir region found evidence that people burned cannabis in wooden braziers during funeral rituals about 2,500 years ago. Chemical analysis suggested the plant material had unusually strong intoxicating properties compared with wild varieties, meaning these communities may have selected more potent plants or used material from special sources. This was not someone accidentally tossing random weeds into a fire. It appears to have been part of a funerary ceremony, possibly connected to mourning, ritual performance, or communication with the dead. The image is striking. Mourners gathered in a harsh mountain landscape, smoke rising from wooden burners, the boundary between living and dead made intentionally dramatic. Ancient people did not need neon lights to create an intense ceremony. A burial, a brazier, and the right plant could do plenty. 19. Balche was a Maya ceremonial drink made from fermented honey and the bark of the balche tree, because apparently even the tree had to contribute to the ritual. This was not just random ancient alcohol. Among Maya communities, balche appeared in group ceremonies, offerings, feasts, and rituals connected to gods, ancestors, rain, agriculture, and social unity. Fermented drinks mattered because they changed mood, loosened speech, created shared experience, and made ceremony feel bigger than ordinary life. Balche brought sweetness, fermentation, plant symbolism, and community participation into one cup. The Maya world was filled with calendars, city-states, dynasties, scribes, temples, and carefully organized ceremonies. So a ritual drink was never just party fuel. It helped shape sacred events and social bonds. Of course, when alcohol meets politics, religion, and large groups of humans, things can get loud. Sacred does not always mean quiet. 20. Henbane in Greek and Roman medicine is another example of ancient doctors looking at a poisonous plant and saying, "This could help, provided it does not ruin everyone's afternoon." Henbane contains dangerous compounds related to the same family of effects found in plants like mandrake and deadly nightshade. Ancient physicians used it as a sedative, painkiller, and treatment for several conditions, but dosage control was a serious problem. Too little might do nothing. Too much could cause delirium, poisoning, paralysis, or death. That is not medicine with a friendly safety cap. Greek and Roman medical writers were often careful observers, but they lacked modern chemistry, controlled testing, and reliable concentration standards. Plants varied, preparations varied, bodies varied. Good luck, ancient patient. Henbane shows the uncomfortable truth about early medicine. Some remedies worked because they were powerful, and that power was exactly what made them dangerous. 21. Vilca snuff was a powerful ritual powder used in ancient Andean elite ceremonies, and everything about it points to altered states serving religious authority. Made from seeds of Anadenanthera trees, Vilca could produce intense visionary experiences and was used across parts of the Andes long before the Inca Empire and during several major pre-Inca cultures. Archaeologists have found snuff trays, tubes, and related objects in elite contexts, suggesting this was not random private behavior. It was tied to power, ancestors, sacred forces, and political display. In societies where rulers and ritual specialists claimed special access to the invisible world, dramatic ceremonies helped reinforce status. Picture an elite gathering where nobles use a sacred powder, enter altered states, and return with messages, authority, and probably the facial expression of someone who has seen too much cosmic paperwork. Vilca was prestige, danger, and spiritual theater. Power was not only worn in gold. 22. The Sumerians and the famous plant of joy sit in the murky zone where ancient texts, translation, and plant history begin arguing at the same table. Some scholars have connected a Sumerian term, often translated as something like joy plant, with the opium poppy, suggesting that ancient Mesopotamians may have known its calming or pain-relieving properties. The claim is fascinating, but it should be handled carefully because ancient plant names are slippery little gremlins. A word on a clay tablet does not come with a botanical barcode. Still, Mesopotamia had advanced medicine, trade, agriculture, temples, and scribes who recorded substances used for healing and ritual. If the opium poppy was known there, it would fit a world where plants, gods, medicine, and magic constantly overlapped. Even joy in Mesopotamia apparently needed paperwork, witnesses, and a wedge-shaped writing system. 23. Pulque in ancient Mesoamerica was fermented from agave sap, and it managed to be sacred, social, medicinal, and dangerous at celebrations all at once. Long before tequila became the more famous agave troublemaker, pulque was used by peoples of central Mexico in ritual and daily life. Among the Aztecs, it came with strict cultural rules. Certain people, such as elders, priests, or participants in specific ceremonies, could drink it in accepted contexts, but public drunkenness was often condemned, especially for younger people. So yes, the drink could be sacred, but society still understood that humans plus alcohol plus confidence equals problems. Pulque was linked with fertility, gods, feasting, and agricultural life, partly because agave itself was incredibly useful. It provided fiber, food, drink, and symbolism, like a plant trying to dominate every department. Pulque was religion, law, celebration, and risk in a cup. 24. Ephedra in ancient Chinese medicine, known as ma huang, was a plant with a very clear message. Wake up, your empire has paperwork. Chinese medical traditions used ma huang for conditions involving breathing, colds, fever, and circulation, and it contains compounds with stimulant effects. This made it a serious medicinal plant, not just ancient caffeine's louder cousin. In a world without modern inhalers, decongestants, or pharmacy shelves glowing under fluorescent lights, plants like ephedra mattered. But ancient did not mean harmless. A stimulant can help the body in some contexts and strain it in others. Chinese medicine developed detailed systems for combining herbs, balancing effects, and matching remedies to symptoms, which is more sophisticated than eat leaf and hope. Still, Ma Huang's reputation makes it easy to picture officials, scholars, soldiers, and healers confronting the same eternal enemy: fatigue. Bureaucracy has always demanded backup. 25. Visionary mushrooms in Mesoamerica were not pizza toppings. They were treated as sacred tools for divination, healing, prophecy, and contact with divine forces. In Nahuatl, some sacred mushrooms were called Teonanacatl, often translated as flesh of the gods, which is an extremely intense name for something that grows quietly after rain. Aztec and other Mesoamerican traditions connected these mushrooms with ceremonies where altered perception could be interpreted through religious meaning. Spanish colonial writers later described such practices, though their accounts came filtered through fear, Christian judgment, and a strong desire to label unfamiliar rituals as dangerous. Still, the tradition was real and serious. The point was not casual amusement. These mushrooms belonged to a world where gods, illness, fate, and visions could all be connected. When a culture names something flesh of the gods, it is clearly not treating it like a snack plate at a lazy dinner. 26. Wild lettuce sounds like the least threatening ancient substance imaginable. It has the energy of a salad that read one medical scroll and suddenly developed confidence. But ancient and later medical traditions associated certain types of lettuce and related plants with sleep, calm, and reduced desire. Greek and Roman writers described lettuce as cooling, sedating, and useful for certain bodily imbalances. Some wild lettuce varieties contain bitter compounds and milky latex, which helped build later traditions around its mild calming effects. Was it a dramatic ancient anesthetic? No. But the idea of sleepy lettuce is still excellent because it shows how ancient medicine saw food and medicine on a spectrum. A plant could be dinner, remedy, symbol, and suspiciously calm garden resident. Romans debated lettuce's effects with total seriousness. Imagine hosting a banquet and someone warning that the salad might make everyone too relaxed. Finally, a vegetable with a job description. 27. Haoma in ancient Iranian religion is one of those sacred substances that make scholars stare intensely at plants and argue for generations. In Zoroastrian and earlier Iranian traditions, haoma was both a ritual drink and a divine figure, praised for strength, vitality, and spiritual power. It is closely related in concept to the Vedic soma of ancient India, which makes the mystery even more complicated. What plant was it? Some researchers suggest ephedra, because it grows in relevant regions and has stimulant properties. Others have proposed different candidates. The honest answer is still debated. What matters is that haoma was not just a beverage, it was a ritual force, prepared with ceremony, linked to cosmic order, priestly practice, and divine blessing. Ancient religion often turned plants into bridges between human and divine realms, and haoma was a major bridge with very unclear botanical paperwork. Every theory brings a plant, nobody leaves fully satisfied. 28. Maya and Aztec tobacco rituals show that tobacco's history is much older and stranger than modern packaging. In Mesoamerica, tobacco was sacred smoke, medicine, offering, social tool, and sometimes political glue. Priests, healers, rulers, and diplomats used it in ritual contexts, including offerings to gods, purification, healing ceremonies, and formal meetings. It could be smoked, burned, or used in other ceremonial forms, but the meaning was not simply someone needed a break. Smoke carried prayers, it marked agreements, it changed the mood of a space, it signaled contact with forces beyond ordinary life. The Aztecs and Maya understood tobacco as powerful, not casual. Its stimulating effects could sharpen attention while also binding people into shared ritual action. Modern culture often reduced tobacco to a bored person outside a building, Ancient Mesoamerica gave it cosmic responsibilities, which is a very different career path for the same plant family. 29. Deadly nightshade is one of those plants that should enter every historical scene with dramatic music. In the ancient and later Mediterranean world, nightshade-related plants sat at the intersection of medicine, cosmetics, poison, magic, and terrifying altered perception. Atropa belladonna contains dangerous compounds that can dilate pupils, cause delirium, disrupt the body, and kill. Later traditions associated belladonna with beautifying the eyes, which is a horrifying reminder that beauty standards have always been willing to negotiate with danger. Related plants like Henbane, Mandrake, and Datura also appeared in medicine and magic. Elite poison culture made these plants even more infamous because courts and political households loved suspicion almost as much as they loved power. The same botanical family could dull pain, create visions, poison rivals, or chase beauty standards straight into a medical emergency. Deadly nightshade was history's worst multitasker, and somehow nobody fired it. 30. Chicha in the Andes was fermented corn beer, but reducing it to ancient beer misses how much work this drink actually did. Andean societies used chicha for feasts, rituals, labor gatherings, diplomacy, political alliances, and honoring ancestors. In the Inca Empire, chicha helped bind people to the state through ceremonies, redistributive feasts, and official hospitality. If you wanted loyalty, labor, or peace, sharing drink mattered. A cup could say, "We are allies, we honor the gods," or "Please help move these stones before the mountain wins." Corn itself was sacred and politically important, so fermented corn became more than alcohol. It was social technology. Chicha made alliances warmer, ceremonies louder, and state power easier to swallow. Of course, alcohol also makes humans talk more than planned, so ancient diplomacy probably included both solemn agreements and regrettable confidence. 31. Syrian rue is a small plant with seeds containing harmala alkaloids, and it has become especially interesting because of evidence connected to Egyptian bez mugs. Recent analysis of residues from a bez-shaped vessel suggested a ritual mixture that may have included Syrian rue along with alcohol, honey, and other plant substances. That matters because harmala alkaloids can affect mood and perception, especially when combined with certain other compounds. In plain language, this was not a casual ancient beverage with a cute garnish. Syrian rue also has a long history in ritual, protective, and medicinal traditions around the Mediterranean and Near East. In the Egyptian context, the possible connection to bez is fascinating because bez was associated with protection, childbirth, music, and moments when people wanted supernatural backup. A vessel shaped like a guardian god, holding a powerful ritual mixture, feels less like tableware and more like a ceramic warning sign. 32. Soma is the legendary Vedic ritual drink that has confused scholars with impressive stamina. In ancient Indian religious texts, Soma is praised as a sacred substance, a god, a source of inspiration, power, vitality, and divine contact. Priests prepared and consumed it in ritual, and the hymns make it sound extremely important. The problem is that nobody can agree on what the original plant actually was. Candidates have included ephedra, certain mushrooms, Syrian rue, cannabis, and several other possibilities, because apparently every mysterious plant wanted an audition. Some scholars argue Soma was a stimulant. Others think it may have produced stronger changes in perception. Others warn that the answer may have changed across time and region. What we can say safely is that Soma was central to early Vedic ritual imagination. It was not just a drink. It was sacred controversy in a cup, and history forgot the ingredient label. 33. Han Dynasty tea may not sound as wild as toxic honey or dangerous ritual plants, but do not underestimate caffeine when bureaucracy enters the room. In early imperial China, tea was already known and used by elites, though it had not yet become the everyday global habit it is today. Archaeological and textual evidence suggests tea was valued as a refined drink, a medicinal substance, and a stimulant among certain upper-class circles. The Han world had officials, scholars, court rituals, long documents, tax systems, military administration, and enough paperwork to make a modern office printer cry. A drink that sharpened alertness was not a small thing. Tea would later become one of the most important beverages on Earth, but its early elite use shows how ancient civilizations often treated stimulants as tools of discipline, status, and survival. While some cultures used dramatic ritual plants, Han elites quietly prepared caffeine's respectable takeover. So which ancient civilization had the most reckless ritual menu? The Egyptians with their bez cups, the Scythians with smoke-filled funeral tents, or the Greeks guarding one mysterious drink like classified paperwork? Pick the winner in the comments and defend your answer. No polite fence-sitting. Like the video, subscribe for more absurd history, and remember, this was historical context only, not advice. Many of these substances were dangerous, poisonous, or deadly.